Dear students, we are going to learn the supplementary lesson in Unit 2 from 7th Standard English Book, Term 1. Supplementary, The Red-Headed Lee. Children, have you ever watched a detective movie? Did you read or hear about a robbery or a burglary in the bank or in any commercial building? I suppose we would have heard in the news or read in the newspaper about the burglaries. Let's go with the story now. Supplementary, The Red-Headed Lee. It was written by the author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He was born on 22nd May 1859. He was a British writer and medical doctor. He created the character Sherlock Holmes in 1887. He was most noted for the fictional detective Sherlock Holmes stories. The Red-Headed Lee was one of his 6 short stories. It first appeared in the Strand magazine in August 1891, and it was the second of the 12 stories in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, published in 1892. Let's now visualize a planned theft in a bank. Children, let's see the characters first. Sherlock Holmes, the famous private detective. Dr. Watson, a doctor and Sherlock's friend. Jabez Wilson, a red-haired shopkeeper. Vincent Spaulding, Wilson's assistant, also known as John Clay. Duncan Ross, Spaulding's partner, a man with red hair. Mr. Peter Jones, an official police inspector from Scotland Yard. Mr. Merriweather, the bank manager. The story goes with a brief introduction and 3 scenes. Let's listen to the introduction part. Mr. Wilson, a red-haired pawn shop owner, met the famous private detective Mr. Sherlock Holmes at his apartment to find a solution for the practical joke someone had been playing on him. Sherlock Holmes and his friend Dr. Watson listened to Mr. Wilson's narration. Mr. Wilson said that he joined the Red-Headed League, established and headed by Mr. Duncan Ross, a red-haired American millionaire who wished to provide for other red-headed men easy jobs for quite a high salary of £4 a week. Wilson's work at Lee was to copy the Encyclopedia Britannica daily from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wilson accepted this offer for 2 reasons. Number 1, his pawn shop was busy only in the evening. Number 2, he wanted money and it was a good amount, £4 a week. But after 8 weeks, he was shocked to find the notice that the office was dissolved. Sherlock asked Wilson about his assistant. Wilson said his assistant Vincent Spaulding joined him just few months back, and he was a fine worker. He had interest for photography, so he often went to the cellar, which is the basement, to develop the photos. And he added that Vincent was the one who showed him the advertisement in the newspaper about the Red-Headed League, and also he compelled him and recommended him to join the league. Here, Wilson's complaint comes to an end. Children, I hope the introduction part was very clear. Let's now go with the scenes. Scene number 1, the investigation by Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Sherlock and his friend Watson visited Wilson's shop at Saxe Coburg Square. Sherlock walked up and down in front of the shop and hit the pavement or the ground with his walking stick few times. Then he knocked at the shop's door. Vincent Spaulding opened the door. Sherlock asked Vincent the way to go to the Strand. Strand means the bookshop. By the way, Sherlock noticed Vincent's dirty trousers and identified him. Actually, his real name was John Clay, the notorious thief or the 4th smartest man and a mastermind in London. Then Sherlock asked his friend Watson to help him at 10 o'clock in the night. With that, the scene number 1 came to an end. Then we move on to scene 2, the operation by the intelligent detective to capture the robbers. Meanwhile, Sherlock arranged everything. He informed the manager of the bank, Mr. Merriweather, to join him, and Mr. Peter Jones, the official police inspector, to be ready with his men right in front of the pawn shop as well as in front of the bank that was targeted to rob. Sherlock, his friend Watson, Mr. Jones and Mr. Merriweather were waiting for almost 1 hour at the bank's strong room. They were in the darkness to catch the notorious criminals. All the four were hiding behind the boxes, expecting the thieves to enter. Just a few minutes after 11:15 in the night, they saw a light coming brighter and brighter from the tunnel. And suddenly the crack opened and a man's hand came out with a gun. That was Vincent Spaulding. And he tried to help Duncan Ross, his partner, to come up. But by the time Sherlock Holmes came out from behind the boxes and hit hard on Vincent's arm, the gun fell on the ground. Seeing that, Duncan Ross quickly got back into the tunnel. Mr. Jones tried to stop Duncan, but he couldn't do it. They captured the first man, the criminal mastermind, John Clay, who was Mr. Wilson's hard-working assistant, Vincent Spaulding. Sherlock assured John Clay that even his friend Duncan could not escape because there, in front of the shop, 3 detectives were waiting. Thus, Sherlock stopped a great bank robbery, and he was very much appreciated by John Clay as clever and good planner. We now move on to scene 3. The narration of Sherlock Holmes' investigation to his friend Dr. Watson. Sherlock said that he suspected or doubted Vincent Spaulding for many reasons. Number 1, he worked for half wages. Number 2, he often spent time in the basement. Number 3, he urged Wilson to join the league immediately. Number 4, the legs of his trousers were dirty when Sherlock asked him the way to the Strand. Number 5, the sudden dissolvement of the league on Saturday, Sunday being a holiday for bank. Sherlock explained that the red-headed league was not real. It was just created to keep Wilson away from his shop for few hours daily. When Wilson worked at the league, John Clay and Duncan had time to make the tunnel to bank's strong room, which was behind the shop. It was John Clay and his partner Duncan who paid Wilson a huge amount, £4 a week, thinking that they would surely take the French gold from the strong room of the bank. And finally, the league was dissolved when the tunnel was ready to the bank. They planned the robbery on Saturday, a good day to rob because Sunday bank holiday. So they have lot of time to escape. Hence, Sherlock was sure about the thieves and he caught them red-handed. A great bank robbery was cleverly stopped by Sherlock Holmes, and at last, Sherlock was very much appreciated by his friend Dr. Watson. Sherlock felt that there was no loss for Mr. Wilson. It was only a gain of £30 for him. The real loss was only for John Clay and Duncan Ross, his partner. Thus, the story came to an end. Dear students, I gave you the concise story of the lesson. For detailed information, read the supplementary many times. Study well. Happy learning. Thank you.